You're listening to an Ono Media podcast.
Good morning, and thanks for joining me for Rise and Crime, your morning caffeine hit all about crime. I'm Mama Jules, and let's head on over to Portland, Oregon for what some might call a cautionary tale. It was a summer night last year when the 12-year-old daughter of 57-year-old Michael Maiden invited 3 friends over to have a sleepover. So I grew up having sleepovers. I remember my mom being very cautious. She was more willing to allow them, especially at the younger age of 12, when there were multiple girls spending the night. I guess she figured there was safety in numbers. But I'll tell you, at my sleepovers, the dads definitely kept their distance. They didn't have much, if anything, to do with the activities that me and my friends were involved in during the evening. But that isn't how the sleepover at Michael's house went on that summer night. In a probable cause affidavit that was released last week, the 3 girls told officers that Michael was very involved in all that they were doing that evening. Michael took the daughter and 3 friends to get their nails done before stopping to get pizza for the girls and then returning home. It seems he was constantly checking in on them and interjecting himself into their conversations. He was hovering as the girls played in the sprinklers in the backyard, and then as they spent time in the hot tub, he was also hanging around. Then the girls took showers and prepared for bed. All of that under his direction. So, is your eyebrow raised? Because it gets worse. As the girls were getting ready to go to sleep, Michael made the girls a batch of smoothies. Now, those smoothies included tiny white chunks with white powder sprinkled over the top. He then sat with the girls, insisting that they drink them. One of the 3 girls told the police she didn't like the taste, so she wasn't drinking hers. And that was frustrating Michael. He kept encouraging her to drink it. He then became agitated with the girl, accusing her of switching her smoothie with another girl's smoothie. But this was a 12-year-old girl who must have trusted her inner gut feelings, because she told police that after the girls went to sleep, she faked asleep because she was just nervous about her surroundings. She said that Michael kept creeping back down to the basement where the girls were sleeping and watching them for extended time periods. She told police she had snuggled up against her friend because the situation was scaring her. And that's when Michael allegedly moved the girl's arm away from her sleeping friend and then scooched the sleeping girl away from the other girls. She said Michael left after moving her friend, but he returned a few minutes later and scooched her friend even further away from the other girls. She said he then waved his hand in front of the sleeping girl's face and placed his fingers under her nose, presumably to ensure the girl was still sleeping soundly. Michael then left again, and the girl, pretending to sleep, decided to take action. She texted her mom asking for her to be picked up. She begged her mother to call Michael and tell him she had a family emergency. By this time, it was 1:43 in the early morning hours. She sent another text to her mother that read, "I don't feel safe. I might not respond when you text back, but please come get me. Please, please, please." She then included a crying emoji in the text. Now, worried her parents weren't getting the text, the girl began calling and texting other friends, begging for those parents of those friends to come pick her up. One friend's mom reacted, and she showed up at Michael's house. As the girl was gathering her items and preparing to sneak/run outside, she actually ran into Michael. He was exiting the bathroom. She told police he appeared drunk and that he murmured a response to her when she said she was leaving, but he didn't try to stop her. That sweet and alert mother who showed up to pick up the scared girl returned that girl to her parents and explained to them what had happened. Those parents, now fully awake, jumped into action and went and alerted the other girls' parents. By now it's 3 a.m., and Michael has multiple adults showing up at his house. He allegedly tried to calm the parents, and he told them the girls were sleeping and they should just return in the morning to get their daughters. Well, the parents refused, scooping up their 12-year-olds and leaving. The next morning, the 3 girls were taken to the local hospital where officers interviewed the 3. One officer wrote in the affidavit that one of the girls was still stumbling and walking slowly, even though it had been 12 hours since Michael had given the girls the smoothies to drink. In all of the interviews, the girls talked about the weirdness of the evening, and one girl said she had tried to get up, but she tripped because she couldn't get her feet to work. Now, urine samples were taken, and lab technicians found benzodiazepines in the samples, which led to the allegations that Michael had drugged the girls. Following the investigation, Michael turned himself in to the Clackamas County Jail. He faces 9 criminal charges, 3 counts of causing a child to ingest a controlled substance, 3 counts of application of a Schedule IV controlled substance, and 3 counts of delivery of a controlled substance to a minor. Now, Michael was arraigned a week ago, and he pled not guilty to the charges. He posted a $50,000 bail. Michael's attorney said his client is presumed innocent. He also conceded that neither he nor his client has seen the evidence due to the indictment being issued by a closed-door grand jury. He then asked the public to reserve judgment until all the facts are known. Michael is due in court again on April 8th for a pretrial hearing, and his trial has been set for April 25th. Now, I'm not here to say if he did drug the girls or not. It could be true. It could not be true. I will say this, however. I had a standing policy with Marley and Peyton from the time they were young. I would always be the bad guy if they needed me to be the bad guy to get out of a situation. And what I mean by that is they could call or text me, and then they could tell their friends that their mom was being demanding or moody and that they had to go home and I was coming to get them, even if I wasn't being demanding or moody. They could use me anytime as the excuse to get out of a situation. If you have influence in a young woman's life, please empower that young woman. Tell her she has a voice. Tell her she can leave. Tell her she can say no to an adult, and of course to her peers. We owe every young woman the opportunity to be taught that they have power. And now let's turn to this update to a story I brought you back on December 18th of last year. In that episode, I described the violent attacks that were allegedly perpetrated by a group of teens called the Gilbert Goonies or Gilbert Goons. Now, this is out of Gilbert, Arizona, where allegedly affluent young men would randomly attack innocent teens, often outside of the In-N-Out Burger in Gilbert. The story exploded onto the national stage when a teen was murdered, beaten to death by a group of teens out celebrating Halloween. Now, despite charges not being filed against any of the goons for that murder of Preston Lord, awareness was raised to the dangerous behaviors of the teen gang. Now, see, some of the attacks on some of the teens have been so violent that one boy was hospitalized for a broken skull. And this has been going on. This wasn't just from Halloween on. We're talking a year, year and a half, almost 2 years of these attacks. Well, in that Rise and Crime episode back in December, I highlight how video evidence is available in these attacks. You guys, I watched it. I found it online. Yet no arrests had been made at that point. At least no arrests that the individual police department will talk about. They keep saying, due to the fact that the attackers are minors, they will not be discussing the cases. But now I have an update. Well, I actually have 2 updates. First, let's address Preston Lord and his death. 2 weeks after I brought you the story on Rise and Crime, a criminal referral was given to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. They are reviewing the evidence to determine if arrests or charges can be made or filed. And now a whistleblower has come forward with interesting and allegedly allegations against a father of 2 of the supposed Gilbert Goonies. Robert Anglin of the Arizona Republic, which I need to give them a shout out because I use them so extensively for the first update. So Robert Anglin of the Arizona Republic, he has spoken with a woman who worked as an administrative assistant for 2 men at the Relentless Media Company in Chandler. Okay, these 2 men, Adam Kiefer and Travis Renner, they held high-profile positions at the company. Travis Renner has a son who has been accused by students and residents of Queen Creek and Gilbert as allegedly being directly involved in the death of Preston Lord. Now, according to the whistleblower, Travis Renner's son allegedly called his father for help immediately following the death of Preston Lord. And I mean immediately, within minutes. The woman says the man's son was moved out of the area to the town of Sholo within hours of the beating. This, according to her, was to allow the son to have time for his injured hand to heal. She said he had severely harmed the hand, beating Preston to death. And then, over the next few days, she says that the two men at the company that she works for began plotting how to move money around so that if the father of the boy was sued, it would not harm the company financially. And again, according to the whistleblower, this isn't the first go-round with the Gilbert Goonies. Travis's older son was a member of the group, and she said the beating of Preston Lord was a sort of initiation of the younger son, so a way to bring him in to the gang and gain his membership. Now, once the whistleblower began talking, she was asked immediately by the two men to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Now, she did stay employed, even though she was sharing the information that she knew, and that led to her eventually being fired from Relentless Media. That's when she went to TikTok, and she began spilling all that she said she had witnessed. Then the two men hit her with a cease and desist order. All right, in February, the two men filed a lawsuit against the woman. So how did the reporter get in touch with the whistleblower? Well, funny enough, the two men, Travis and Adam, those are her bosses, the men at the company. Well, they had contacted the reporter early on and asked that he look into her bad deeds. So they're the ones that alerted the reporter to this woman. So the reporter, that's when he began talking with her and discovering the story she had to tell. All right, all I know is ever since I started reading about this case, all I've smelled along the way is a rotten stench of cover-up. Now, it does seem that the Queens Creek Police Department is working diligently to secure testimony and evidence before moving forward with charges against the young people responsible for Preston's death. But other adults and authorities in this whole Goonies saga, well, they just seem to be looking the other way. Okay, so we have the whistleblower as update number 1. And then here's update number 2. Sometimes when law enforcement won't make arrests or when they don't have enough to make charges stick, parents take matters into their own hands. And a parent of one child has filed suit against the Chandler Unified School District. Here's what they contend. Richard Cooner was raising his teen son in the Gilbert-Chandler area. The teen's mother lives and works overseas. In late summer of 2023, Richard claims his son was being bullied by members of the Gilbert Goons. Okay, now remember, kids in Arizona are often in school during summertime because of the hot weather, and it seems like this might have been the case. There might have been some crossover at school here. Well, Richard's son, he shows up to school, and he's being pressured and bullied right from the get-go. When the son told his father, Richard, about the threats that he was receiving at school, the dad called the police. In that call, he named a specific student who had been especially aggressive with his son. Now, that teen that he named was allegedly threatening his son because he, quote, had a big mouth. In one threat, a picture was included that showed a member of the Goons with a gun and ammunition nearby. That photo was shown to the school resource officer, but he said he could not identify the teen in the photo. Then, 2 weeks later, after talking to the police, Richard's son was jumped at the In-N-Out Burger in Gilbert in the parking lot area. Two 18-year-olds, Christopher Fantastic and Eris Arredondo, were arrested for that attack on Richard's son. They've been charged with aggravated robbery and assault. The assault, well, that's an obvious charge because they beat the heck out of the kid. But the robbery was because at the end of the attack, the Goons stole the boy's shoes, and then they turned around and posted a picture of the shoes on social media with the caption, "Thanks for the free shoes." Okay, how was there enough evidence in this exact case to file these charges? Well, a Snapchat video exists of the event, and those two adult males could clearly be seen throwing punches. But there are more attackers in the Snapchat video than just those two. And Richard is frustrated that more arrests have not been made. So he gathered evidence. and filed a $6 million claim against the members of the Gilbert Goons and their parents, and also against the Chandler Unified School District. Okay, it totally makes sense that the lawsuit is filed against the Goons. But why the school district? Well, that gets a little complicated, but here, this is how it works. Riggs Elementary School principal Jamie Lander's stepson is named in the lawsuit, and since the lawsuit was filed, Jamie, the principal, has been placed on leave. The district is not commenting on the leave. Jamie's stepson was seen on the video of the attack at the In-N-Out Burger, but the Snapchat video cuts off before you can see if a punch was thrown by the stepson. But he has been named as the teen who orchestrated the entire attack. And Jamie's involved because she allegedly told her stepson not to identify any of the other teens involved in the attack if he was asked by anyone. She claims she was worried about his safety, and that is why he should not be transparent. But it does appear the stepson was arrested and that his police interview is part of the evidence presented in the lawsuit filed by Richard. However, even though he was arrested, the charges were dropped when police said they did not have enough evidence. Now, Jamie did tell detectives that she felt the only reason that her stepson was arrested was because the media was pressuring for an arrest, and that her stepson was now the scapegoat. In the lawsuit, Richard also claims the district has been aware of the attacks and the attackers, and they have seen the multiple videos circulating online with students that attend the district involved in those violent encounters. Now, the suit also states that those threats were made on school grounds. The lawsuit will take months to work its way through the system, and Richard's son has moved overseas with his mother for safety. So how has the community responded to Preston Lord's death and also to the lawsuit filed by Richard? Well, on February 14th, during the public comment period of the Chandler Unified School District Board meeting, 24 people showed up wearing Preston's signature orange color. Richard was also in attendance. During that meeting, Katie McPherson, who I quoted in my episode back in December, well, she's an advocate for the youth of the district, and she said in the comment portion of that meeting that Chandler Unified was ground zero for the students who are violently attacking their peers. She said 6 current and former graduates of CUSD have been arrested for harming other students. She scolded the school board, saying she had personally emailed them with her concerns about the goons, and not one of the members emailed her back. She then said the violence will continue as long as the school district continues to look the other way. The district issued a statement on February 14th stating that it cannot speak about pending litigation, nor can it speak about personnel issues. Clearly, this will not be the last time I report on the Gilbert Goons. I'll keep you updated on the pending lawsuit and the investigation into Preston Lord's death. And now this story out of Meigs County, Tennessee, where a city is being sued for a rookie cop making a deadly mistake. It was Valentine's night, just 3 weeks ago, when rookie cop Robert John Leonard responded to a disturbance between 2 people. You guys, it probably couldn't get any more routine for a police officer on the night of the lovers' holiday. Of course, 2 people are going to have some sort of dispute. And the actual disturbance that the 35-year-old law enforcement officer responded to really wasn't all that special. In fact, the only part that maybe was worth noting was that after 2 weeks on the job, it was the first arrest he had ever made. He handcuffed 35-year-old Tabitha Smith and placed her in the back of his patrol vehicle. While driving away, Deputy Leonard radioed the station and told them he was bringing Tabitha in for booking. Now, during the transport of Tabitha to the station, Deputy Leonard took a wrong turn and plunged his car into the Tennessee River. An incomplete transmission came across the radio that the station could not interpret. They believed the patrol officer had said the word water, but they could not be certain. And then Deputy Leonard had also sent a text to his wife that said the word arrest. Well, his wife sent a response, but by the time it had been sent, his phone was unable to receive the text message, or service was just too sketchy. A search was launched that evening after additional attempts to locate Deputy Leonard were unsuccessful. Then the next morning, on Thursday, searchers found the patrol vehicle in the river, upside down, They tracked the vehicle using the Life 360 app. Now, Tabitha was still handcuffed, and she was found deceased in the back seat of the patrol vehicle. Her body was covered in mud and silt due to the delayed finding of the car. Deputy Leonard was found deceased in the river, but he was outside of the vehicle. Following the accident, the Meigs County Sheriff's Office Chief Brian Malone, he told local reporters at WBIT-TV that this kind of incident was something they don't usually deal with in Meigs County, citing that the small rural county was not used to that level of tragedy. And the Tennessee Police Benevolent Association, they offered an explanation about the incomplete radio transmission, saying that in the rural areas of Meigs County, cell phone reception and transmission of radio signals can be difficult at times. Also, according to the TBPA, this rural stretch of road has been known for rollover accidents. They said the spot can be difficult to navigate, especially if the driver isn't local and aware of the turn. They then went on to note that other cars have rolled into the river near the Blythe Ferry boat ramp. Now, the tragedy rocked the small community, and it also frustrated Tabitha's family, and they have now filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Deputy Leonard's estate and the Meigs County government. Tabitha's son, Nathan, filed the suit on Monday, in which he alleges that Deputy Leonard was not properly trained by the county to know his assigned area of patrol and also to know the nature of the incident location. It also alleges that the rookie deputy was not properly trained or supervised by the county to refrain from the use of his cell phone while transporting an arrestee in a patrol vehicle. Now, the suit maintains that the deputy was unable to ensure the safety of Tabitha while she was in his custody. It concludes with a statement that, as a direct and proximate result of the acts and omissions of Leonard and the county, the deceased suffered a horrific death. Nathan, via the lawsuit, is requesting a jury trial and nominal, punitive, compensatory, and presumed damages at a minimum of $10 million. Tabitha's friend Sheena McComb told WVLT that the late mom was a happy person that was outgoing and loved her life. Another friend described her as a woman with a heart of gold, despite her troubles in life. Tabitha was the mother of 4 children: Nathan Smith, who filed the lawsuit, Natalie Robertson, Jordan Elkins, and London Colbaugh, as well as being the sister to 3 siblings. She loved music, cooking, and spending time with her children and friends. And Deputy Leonard had clearly joined the Meigs County Sheriff's Department at an older age than most of the new hires. He had spent his early adult years working in construction, but he had moved his family to Tennessee to pursue his dream of becoming a police officer. He leaves behind his wife, Krista, and 5 children named Zachary, Evan, Kaylin, Aubrey, and Isabel. Guys, there was so much heartache left behind in this tragic story. And since we're telling cautionary tales today, how about this one from Royal Caribbean? Because a 34-year-old cruise ship employee is now facing multiple state and federal felony charges because he allegedly hid cameras in the bathrooms of multiple passengers. And many of those passengers were underage girls. Even more aggressive, that employee, Arvin J. Mirasol, would allegedly hide under passengers' beds in order to film those passengers when they would get naked in their rooms. Okay, all of this went down on the Symphony of the Seas ship that's operated by Royal Caribbean. The videos were taken on a Caribbean voyage that left Port Everglades, Florida on February 24th and returned on March 3rd. Marisol was a stateroom attendant who hid in the room of a juvenile female, as well as her mother's room and her older sister. Now, just one day into the trip, the younger girl said she was in her private bathroom when she reached under the sink to get a fresh roll of toilet paper. It was then that she stumbled upon a hidden camera affixed to the counter under the sink. The young girl had used the bathroom on multiple occasions since boarding the ship. She had also been unclothed in the bathroom or partially clothed in the bathroom on several occasions. The mother of the girl alerted the ship's security immediately, and the workers entered the room and began searching. As the interviews were proceeding, Mirasol entered the room. Security quickly detained him and placed him in a guarded quarantine area. He remained there until the ship returned to port on March 3rd. Now, while he was in the confined room, Security seized his electronic devices like his cell phone and a micro SD card. They also gathered a camera, an Apple Watch, and a USB stick loaded with files. A forensic exam of the devices revealed that those files on the USB stick were mostly pictures and videos of naked females, young and adult. And those females were in various stages of undress. The USB also contained child pornography. The forensic exam also revealed that the cell phone had been used to make internet searches with terms like hidden camera and teen on bed. Upon his arrest, when the Symphony of the Seas returned to port, Marisol admitted that he had abused his position as a stateroom attendant. He said when he would clean the room and restock towels, he would take the opportunity to place the cameras or remove the cameras. He then would pleasure himself while watching the videos of the unsuspecting females. And as the stateroom attendant, he would know which rooms housed females. He also told authorities that he would look at the female-only rooms and choose the ones that he liked best or thought suited his desires. And usually that included teen girls. And are you ready for this? He had been placing the cameras since early December of last year. That's 3 months of his voyeurism on the Symphony of the Seas. And on a few select occasions, he told authorities that he would enter the rooms of the guests while they were taking showers and hide under their beds while he recorded them with his cellular device. Now, Marisol is not a U.S. citizen, but he is being held in the Broward County Jail without bond. He is charged with 6 counts of video voyeurism by both the state and federal governments. He has also been charged with producing child pornography and possessing child pornography. Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines has responded to the charges filed against Marisol. They said in a statement that the company has a zero-tolerance policy for this unacceptable behavior. They said once the behavior was discovered, that they immediately reported the incident to law enforcement and terminated the employee. They said they will continue to cooperate fully with the authorities. Well, that's your Thursday episode of Rise and Crime. Okay, you guys remember how I promised some big news coming from Ono Media? Well, be listening to the upcoming announcement from Peyton and Garrett. And if you want to support Ono Media, please tell a friend about Rise and Crime and the other Ono Media podcasts and subscribe while you're at it. 5-star ratings and reviews are also greatly appreciated. Join me again on Monday for more morning crime news. I'm Mama Jules, and keep safe out there.